knowing that you'll respect them in the morning with intelligent talk that stimulates.
Welcome back to our Picking Up the Pieces segment. This is Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio Inside the News. Frank Vernuccio, Guy Wehman, and Ben Brunson, who we're going to start off with on this segment. And Ben, we saw this week the bringing in of Amy Coney Barrett into being an associate justice on the Supreme Court, Ben.
A major win for the Republican Party, the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. She's going to be a great justice in the mold of Antonin Scalia, and the same intellectual chops as Antonin Scalia, the ability to actually understand the Constitution and the role of the judiciary and the versus the legislative branch is very refreshing to see. And of course, you have the pre-programmed apoplectic meltdown among Democratic leadership, setting the stage for what's to come. And they have made it crystal clear that if the Democrats take the Senate, and Schumer's the majority leader, and in particular, if they get the White House. Now, if Trump retains the White House, I'm going to hedge what I'm about to say, but it's crystal clear that if Biden is president and the Senate is in Democrat control, they're going to end the filibuster. They're going to seek to expand the Supreme Court, probably to 13 members. And they will pursue other very radical ideas in a way to pack our legislative and judicial system towards the left. And that might include statehood for Puerto Rico. And we'll see. There's discussion about increasing the number of districts in our judicial federal district court system in order to name a lot more district court judges under a liberal administration. So these are really liberal and far-reaching consequential decisions being made. And keep one thing in mind: Chuck Schumer is facing re-election in 2 years. He's going to be running most likely against AOC for that seat. So Chuck Schumer is going to be driven hard to the left if he is the majority leader, and that's a reality.
Oh my goodness, Senator AOC. This is absolutely incredible, because I'm going to say they are a bunch of crybabies. They're a bunch of spoiled brats that they've always had the court kind of balanced their way. So it was tilted toward the liberal side of the law. And now all of a sudden they're looking at possibly a 5-4 all the time, or even possibly a 6-3. And so we're just crying here because we want our way. And so they will do anything possible to get their way by changing the rules, Frank.
Guy, the indisputable success of the United States is due to our constitutional scheme of separation of powers. Indeed, if you start packing the court, that entire legislative scheme, that entire constitutional scheme goes out the window. The concept of the court acting as a super legislature, which is exactly what the Democrats want to do by packing the court, would mean that you no longer have an objective bench. You no longer have an objective judicial system in the United States. One of the hallmarks of every totalitarian state throughout the world, whether it's been calls itself communist, Nazi, or whatever, has been the capture by the powers that be, the political powers of the judicial system. And if indeed you have the Democrats pack the court so that the court permanently becomes the plaything of whoever is in power, you will see the United States track along the same course as other totalitarian nations throughout history. An independent judiciary is essential to the maintenance of freedom. The Democrats, by their attack on the judicial system, are clearly saying they are against the concept of freedom, against the concept of a constitutional separation of powers.
About a minute left, Ben. That comes down to one-party rule. And chances are, if that happens and Biden gets in, it's going to be like that for the rest of our lifetime.
Frank said it so perfectly. Look, checks and balances. That is the phrase that kids used to learn when they learned basic civics while they were in elementary school or high school. I don't think it's taught anymore, but the whole success of the United States system of government, as envisioned and put in place under our Constitution is one of checks and balances. The president, the executive, is a check against the legislative, which is in turn a check against the executive. And overlooking it all is the judicial, which has to be independent. It is the reason why Supreme Court justices serve for life. And this entire scheme, this constitutional scheme, which has driven our country to great prominence and wealth for over 250 years now, is in jeopardy. And it is unbelievable to me that Democrats are going along with this idea to destroy our constitutional balance, which has been so key to the rule of law and order that has made us so wealthy and successful.
Okay, Frank, the Big Ten came back to college sports over the weekend, and it started to feel more normal. I know the SEC and the Big 12, they kind of thought that they were it, but you needed that Big Ten. You needed the Pac-12. You needed those other of the 5 conferences to make it a complete and full feeling that we're back to normal.
College football is kind of like the flip side of the Hallmark movies. You know, the Hallmark movies are part of normalcy, I guess, for the gals, and the pro football is, or the college football is the normalcy for the rest of us. I think college football is going to get even more of a boost as more and more folks get turned off by pro football and its Colin Kaepernick interest, by the pro football owners who are acting despicably, I believe, in many ways. College football is one of those things Americans rely on, and I think it's there for them.
Yes, absolutely. And Ben, I know you like the other kind of football, meaning soccer, but yet the college teams coming back, it just is kind of nice because it seems like it rounded out the rest of the country.
Well, I've been a huge college football fan all my life, and I'm a Big Ten graduate. So it's happy. It is good to see the Big Ten back. Ohio State and Michigan in particular are the 2 of the longest playing universities when it comes to football. So it's a good thing to see them back. I'm not fans of either. I went to a competing Big Ten school, but always great to see the Big Ten back and a big step back towards normalcy in this country, which is so necessary. The political leaders of these universities and the governors who have power over them tried to stop this. That's why the Big Ten was so delayed. You have teams that have played, like Clemson and Miami have played 6 games already. And now we have the first game being played by Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. A lot of effort by Donald Trump to bring some sense of rationality back into the process and get the Big Ten going again.
Our theme basically this week, if you wanted to put a theme on the entire program, is can we get back to normal? We started with COVID, and now we're ending with the college teams, and it is just so nice. I say that it added validity to the SEC by having the Big Ten, because the SEC, without trying to beat up on the Big Ten and talking about it, then if they stand alone with no competition, it's kind of like a hollow competition, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, and you're forgetting the ACC, Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina, they're all buying in the Big Ten these days.
In the
top 10 these days. So.
University of Vernuccio is where we're going to have our hot button topic right now. Take it, Frank.
America is staring into the face of the abyss, the same threatening realm faced by the people of Russia when the Bolsheviks took over, the Germans in the 1930s, and most recently the citizens of Venezuela when Chavez first sought power. The rhetoric by the forces that took over those nations are deeply similar to what we're seeing now in the American left. The Obama-Biden administration promised to fundamentally transform America, and it did. During those 8 years, America became more divided. Government became more powerful. Our economy stagnated, and our foreign adversaries advanced. Freedom of speech and religion were relentlessly assaulted. The plutocrats of social media, the lifelong politicians who have become wealthy, selling out America to foreign powers, and the campus fascists who tolerate no difference of opinion have pulled out all the stops to win this election. They have changed the voting rules, physically assaulted opponents on the streets, attempted a coup in the wake of the last presidential election, and relentlessly lied in print, on the air, and online. Will they succeed? We'll find out very soon.
Wow. Beautifully said. Okay, Ben, your hot button topic.
In these final days before this very subsequential election, you're hearing nonstop polls that basically tell you the race is a foregone conclusion. Biden's going to be our next president. He has a huge lead in all of these polls. And the pollsters, when you point out 4 years ago how wrong the polls were, they say, well, it was different back then because of Hillary and Trump was unknown. So I decided to look at a poll 2 years ago, the final poll issued by Quinnipiac on the eve, the day before the Florida gubernatorial election, which was held on November 6th of 2018. It showed Andrew Gillum with a 7-point lead among likely voters going into that election, which of course was won by Ron DeSantis, and the reason why he is the governor of Florida now. So take these polls with a huge grain of salt. It is not substantially different than 4 years ago, and I personally expect the outcome to follow 4 years ago.
All right, Frank, thanks.
Great being with you, and thanks to our audience.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, guys.
All right, until next week, we're going to go inside the news once again. Stay safe and make sure you vote.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.